Hi, how are you? So today we are going to speak about GRC. So what is GRC? GRC stands for Governance, Risk and Compliance. It is a structured approach that organization use to align their strategies, manage risk effectively, and ensure adherence to law, regulations, and internal policies. So GRC is essential for maintaining organization efficiencies, integrity, and resilience. So GRC is kind of governance, and in that we will be having a risk management, and then we need to have a compliance accordingly with the laws and regulations and regulatory bodies. So governance is kind of responsibility with the high level management. They foresee the organizations as a structure, and they appoint a CEO, they appoint management department to manage their work as per their objective, as per their company's goal. So we'll have a quick look on this clip so that we will understand some part of it.
I woke up this morning with the sun down, shining in. Morning. I found my mind in a ground, but then I tripped on a cloud and fell 8 miles high. I told my mind on a jagged sky. See what condition my condition was in.
So in this clip, you would have been noticed that a lot of things was unstructured, and the process was not as per the rules and regulations. In this scenario, people, however they want to wish, they are traveling, and wherever they want to do or whatever they want to do, they are doing by their own self. So this will become a chaos, and it will bring down all the operations. It will bring down all the things to loss. So you have seen that people are traveling on the bus, the cars are moving here and there, and the person is not opening the door, is directly breaking the glass and entering into the premise. And then one courier guy, he's using the helmet, and the helmet off sign was mentioned that they should not wear the helmet. So in this scenario, all the people, they feel that whatever they feel them will be good for their process, they're using that strategy, they're using that process. So they think that will be a good idea for them. But in reality, if you start doing this, and if you work accordingly with your own mindset, then there'll be a loss to a country or to an organization or to a city. So governance will come into the picture. The governance will give you a framework. It will provide you a process. It is a practice that will be streamlined, and for getting good results, this process has been implemented. So similarly, way this governance practice should be implemented in all the organization across the board. So in this governance, there will be a high level management intent, and there will be a C-suite like CEO, and then CIO for IT department, and CISO for security department, and CHR for HR department, then CFO for finance, so and so forth. So C-suite is a high level responsibility. They are ensuring that the business goal is achieved, company objective has been achieved. So high management, they will draft a policy. The policy will be their intent to achieve the company's goal and objectives. So there will be a policy and process and the guideline. With the help of that policies, process, and guideline, company will be able to achieve the outcome. So if you don't follow the process, if you don't follow the policy, there will be a negative impact on the company, and there will be negative impact with the client. There will be negative impact for the stakeholder. So governance is utmost important. So the key component of the GRC one is governance. So governance refers to a framework, processes, and practice that ensure an organizations operate effectively, ethically, and align with its goal. If we don't operate effectively, if you don't have a process ethically, if you don't do a business in ethical way, and if you don't align with the goals of the company, of the organization, then there is a negative impact, and that impact will lead to collapse of the organization. Wherever this has been implemented, if it is not implemented, the system will collapse. So it involves setting policies, establishing responsibilities, and monitoring performance to meet stakeholder expectation. So we have ensuring the process, we are ensuring the framework, we are ensuring it has been practiced across the organization, and we are setting up policies, and we are establishing the responsibilities, and to ensure we are monitoring that all the thing which has been implemented is correct. Based on the monitoring, based on the reporting, only we will be able to know how the policy has been implemented, what is the strongest point or weak point of the policy. We will be come to know on basis on the monitoring. So including corporates, government, and non-profit sector, and it's a crucial for transparency, compliance, and efficient management. So with the help of this governance, there will be a transparency, there will be a compliance to it, and efficient management. So this is a structure of an organization where there is a stakeholder. Stakeholder will be could be an investor, could be a business owner, or could be a CEO. So they are the stakeholder, or a director. They are the stakeholder. Their objective is, say, I am investing some money, and I want to have my company growth, and my company should be famous throughout the world. These are their shareholders' expectations. So they have a goal. They will be setting an objective that I should be a number one throughout the globe. So they work together. So shareholder, they have their intent. They have shown their intent. So all the people under the shareholder, they have to work together. They have to understand their intent and work accordingly. The intent is to be a number one. So there will be a board of director, and the board of director will appoint the CEO or C-suite level management. And then CEO level management will appoint a management team. That management team will be managing the respective departments. So there could be n number of departments based on the company's requirement. If there is an HR, if there is a resource management needs to be done, or a recruitment need to be done, so there should be an HR organization. There should be an HR department, and if it is IT department need to be set up, there should be a IT department, and if security department needs to be set up, there should be a security department. And if the requirement of that company is for financial transaction, they should have a finance department, and they should nominate a chief financial officer. So these are the high level of department, high level of management team, where they need to implement all this process. So they will have a control over all these processes. So we will talk about policies, what are policies, procedures, guideline on high level kind of thing. So the policy is a high level statement of a management's intent. Establishing the policy and objective for the organization cybersecurity program, compliance is mandatory. So high level is a high level statement is a policy of the management intent. So management, what their intent will be? Their intent will be like, I need to achieve my business objective. So what will be their business objective? That they want to be a number one. They want to be number one in that particular sector, on the retail sector, or any of the sectors they want to be number one. So that is their intent. So it will be a high level statement from them. So, and the objective for the organization cybersecurity program. So they also have an objective that they should implement a cybersecurity program to be compliant with the regulatory body. So the compliance is also a mandatory part in this policies. So what are the key elements in the policies? Statement on the importance of cybersecurity, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that is called CIA requirement. Then CISO authority to develop and enforce standard, procedures, and guidelines. So the policy has been mentioned, has been elaborated. Now we need to ensure that this has been implemented based on the statement on the importance of the cybersecurity. Then comes the CIA requirement, which is called confidentiality, integrity, and then availability. This is a CIA triad, which will ensure about your cybersecurity in an organization. Confidentiality means that the data what you have, what you process, or in an organization should be in confidential in nature, should not be exposed to public, and it has to be not to be visible to third party or in the public. So that data is confidential. And integrity means the data what you have is not been tampered off. That means there is no changes on the data what you have when you keep on your laptop, when you keep on the company server, or when you send that data for third party. So the data should not get changed. So the integrity will be achieved in this case. Availability means the data whatever you want to access by the client or third party should be available, like a retail website or shopping website where the client will log into the website and then they order the product. So that website should be available 24/7 as per CIA or as per SLA agreement done with the company. So CISO authority to develop and enforce standard procedures and then guidelines. So CISO will be responsible for developing and enforcing standard procedures and guidelines across the organization. So what are standards? Standard specific mandatory requirement that support policies and often outline measurable criteria. So standard will be a specific things, and it will be a mandatory requirement that will support the policy, that will support the management intent. So the management intent is that the data should not be visible to third party. The data should not be exposed. Confidential data should not be exposed, and the data should have integrity, and all my systems should be available. So we need to implement some kind of standard to protect that the data. So if you want to implement some access control mechanism to access the website, there should be some credentials like username and then password. So the password will become a standard. So what standard of the password will become a standard in this case, and then that will become a process of the standard. So in that standard, the password will be chosen, that we have to be used. We will be using a password. Then what it will be the standard in that the password, that it should be minimum complexity. What will the complexity requirement, and how regular the password needs to be changed. So for example, a password standard might specify a minimum length, complexity requirements, and regular update intervals for the password. So this will become a standard. Then we'll speak about procedures. So detailed step-by-step instruction on how to perform specific tasks, ensuring consistency in execution. Now we have policies in place. We have implemented the standard. This will be the standard. And now we need to have a procedure. How to, what will be the detail, what will be the step-by-step process, so that I can follow that standard. So it is a detailed step-by-step instructions on how to perform a specific task. For an example, there is an incident response procedure might provide a checklist for identifying, containing, and recovering from security incident. So I have a incident response implemented in an organization. Now I want to know how to start that incident response if some incident is happening or ongoing in an organization, or if some there is ongoing breaches happening or ongoing attack on the organization by malicious people or by malicious intent internally or externally. So there will be a procedure. Okay, you have to do so and so, bring down the servers, bring down the system, affected system, remove from the network, and segregate the network with the apart from the other network which has not been infected with the malicious code. So these are all the standards. So that means a detailed step-by-step process. Then guidelines. Guidelines recommended the best practice that provide flexibility, allowing departments to adapt guidance as needed. So this is a practice which provide you the flexibility that allowing departments to adapt guidance as needed. That means basically it's a guideline how to do, where to go, how, what is the information. It's just it's a guiding mechanism where you understand that what needs to be done in this case if something happened. So if in case there is a drill or a fire alarm goes on basically. So in that scenario, there will be a guideline mentioning that you have to exit from the exit door, fire exit door, and then you have to be gather in some areas where it's been allowed. So this kind of procedure, this kind of guideline is required when you when there is a fire alarm goes on. So, for example, a guideline on email security might recommend using caution with unfamiliar attachment, even if specific accounts aren't mandated. So, in this, an email security guidelines which says that we have to be cautious while opening unfamiliar attachment. So, this is a guideline which has been given. So, we need to follow the guideline so that we can ensure that we are not be opening the malicious file, infected file, to safeguard our email servers or our network infrastructure. So we have spoken so far about the governance, what are their accountabilities, what are their responsibilities, how you achieve with the help of process, with the help of policies and the standard and the guideline. So we will discuss about risk, which is one part of it. There are three parts. One is governance, second part is risk, and third part is compliance to it. So the risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and addressing potential threat to an organization's goal. So what we will be going to do, we have identified management intent and objective has been set, and we have implemented the process, we implemented the policies. Now we have to identify the risk. Everywhere in all the organization or in the real world where we are living, we are facing some kind of risk, and we are dodging that risk, and we are assessing the risk, and then we are continuing. We are managing the risk. We are sometimes we are mitigating. Sometimes we are eliminating as well. So these are the risks which is daily life we are facing. For example, if I go for work outside, so there could be many kind of risk available on the road. There could be a small or major kind of accident kind of thing will be happening, or a roadblock will be there, or heavy rain could be there. That is also one of the risks, where all the trains, all the bus will be stopped. They will be underwater. So these are all risks which daily life people are observing and they are dealing with. Natural calamities is one of the risks, and disaster is also one of the risks. So there are many risks. Risk is something which is unforeseen and which will have an impact, which will which will have an impact and cost some material thing. So that is come under risk. So risk management is a process of identifying and then assessing and then addressing potential threat to an organization. So this is a risk management. You're managing the risk. Like you have a process to identify. We need to list down all the risk 1, 2, 3, 4 in a risk register. There will be a register. In that register, you need to put all those risks which is you are able to foresee. And in risk management, we have to foresee. We have to make as a very kind of like whatever the risk you can able to identify or you think, you need to mention on the register. So then you are mentioning, you are identifying, and then you are assessing. You are seeing that risk. What will be the impact of that? If this risk comes, what will be the impact? If rain will be more, so what will be the impact? So all the roads will be underwater. All the cars, buses will be underwater. So that is what we are assessing, and then addressing potential threats. So heavy rain is a threat. Heavy rain is a threat, and how you address that threat. So that could be mechanism to remove the waterlogged areas, water from that area, so that there could be less amount of water collected on the road. So that kind of mechanism will be implemented. One more example I can just share here is like if you have some in a shop, some mobile is kept on the shop. In a mobile shop, there's a mobile is there, and so the risk in the mobile shop is of the theft by the robber. So there is risk. So what you did, you have identified that risk, that the risk is my mobiles, water mobiles I have kept for sale for my business objective. To achieve my goal is that the mobile can be robbed. So what I will do, I will identify. So this is one part I have done. Now I will assess. So what I will do to protect that, what assessment I will do, how I will protect that mobile to be not to be get theft by the robber. So I will see various combinations and various options, and I'll try to implement that. Then addressing potential threat. So the potential threat is the robber. So now I will address the threat, how I can mitigate that robber being doing the theft of my mobile. So I will implement some alarm. I will try to keep the mobiles under the glass so that he cannot break the glass. Or if he is breaking the glass also, I will tie that mobile with with some kind of thread or some kind of wire, so that if he able to break the glass also, the mobile will be held by him, or he cannot drop the mobile. So that kind of addressing that kind of potential threat, we need to address accordingly. So this is a high level kind of risk assessment what we have discussed in terms of general view. So similarly, we need to address the same thing in IT areas also, IT infrastructure also, IT systems, servers, desktop PCs, clients area, desktop data center, and all those things. And it will be, we need to do in server application, database, DR, disaster recovery, in cloud, everywhere we need to manage the risk accordingly. So risk can be financial, operational, cybersecurity related, or compliance based. So there will be n number of related risk which has been throughout the organizations. It will be happening. We need to identify everywhere. For an example, a company conducting a cybersecurity risk assessment to identify vulnerabilities in its IT system. So this is an example that a company is conducting cyber assessment risk to identify the vulnerabilities. The vulnerabilities, that doesn't mean in an application or in just or in a system or in a firewall, or in the vulnerabilities will be there in every areas, and every areas in operational, in infrastructure. It could be hardware vulnerabilities, it could be software vulnerabilities, it could be your business vulnerabilities, it could be a policy vulnerabilities, it could be your process vulnerabilities, it could be your standard vulnerabilities, it could be your guideline vulnerabilities. So vulnerabilities will be there everywhere. So this is the this is the area where we have identified how to do a risk management by the NIST cybersecurity framework. It is a framework which will be adopted by the US company. It's a government-based framework which all the government working under US, they have to follow this framework, which first we need to identify, protect, detect, respond, and then recover. Whole on whole in the center, it's a govern. They have to the govern will be ensure governors will be ensuring that they are able to identify the risk, they are able to protect the risk, they are able to detect the risk, they are able to respond to the risk, and they have to able to recover from that risk if there is some potential damage done on the organization infrastructure. So this is what is first you in the risk management process. First, you have to identify the risk. Second, you have to analyze the risk, what kind of risk it is. Then you evaluate or you rank. Evaluation in the sense like you're giving a ranking on the system that this is very dangerous or low dangerous or it is not dangerous. That could be low, medium, and high. So based on the criticality or based on the damage done on that infrastructure or any process, you evaluate the risk. Then you treat the risk. Treatment in the sense you give some mitigation plan, you give some solution to it, that we can, this is the way we can protect, this is the area where we can protect. Like if like for an example, there'll be a lot of malicious traffic coming into the organization. So what you do, you implement firewall to protect the malicious traffic. So first you have identified the risk that there is a malicious access been done by the malicious people from the internet, and they are sending malicious code, they are sending ransomware malicious code to encrypt the data. So this is the risk you identified. Then what you do, you're analyzing the risk. So you are analyzing what kind of malware they are sending, what kind of viruses or what kind of trojans they are sending, what kind of reverse shells they'll be using to get our data or to encrypt the data. So you're analyzing. Then you evaluate the risk. You will see like if ransomware attack happen, what will be the impact. So all my application will be encrypted. I'll not be able to service that client. I will not be able to open my application. The database will be encrypted. All data will be down accessible, will not be able to accessible by the customer. So this I will evaluate as a high. So this is my high priority, and then treat the risk. So what treatment I will do? I will be having a backup. I'll be implementing firewall so that no one except which is allowed by the port by HTTPS port, only that port will be allowed. Others all the ports will be blocked on the firewall rules. So that treatment I will be doing on my infrastructure. Then I will monitor and then review the risk. So I will monitor that what I have been implemented, treatment I have done, whether the treatment is correct or not. I have implemented the firewall, whether the firewall is working as per intended or not. It is getting stopped, all the malicious traffic is getting stopped or not, or packet is getting dropped or not. That I will do monitor and then review the risk. So I have to review that, okay, my system is my firewall is stopping all those malicious traffic and it is dropping. So that is what we need to review and then update accordingly. So now we'll come to compliance part. So compliance is compliance means basically there is a governance rules and regulations which you have implemented in terms of policies and then standard and then guidelines. So and then you are seeing in an organization that department, process, and people and technologies, they are doing as per intended, as been mentioned in the policies. Like say, it is mentioned in the policy that firewall should be implemented to block all malicious traffic. That is, they are mentioned. Now, just to mention just to mention that, okay, you have to implement the firewall, that will not give you the assurance that firewall is been implemented, because the high level management will not come to your server room or to your data center to see the firewall is installed or not. How you will be assuring them? There is no mechanism to assure, because you are not, are you expecting stakeholder who's investing millions of dollars, millions of rupees to attain their business objective, you not expect them to come and see that you have implemented firewall or not. So they have implemented such kind of process that they are ensure that you have implemented the firewall. Fine. So that process is the compliance. So compliance will ensure that you have implemented the firewall. You will be giving the report that this has been implemented, and you are giving the report of the monitoring and the outcome of the firewall mechanism, and it will give you the detail of for what reason you implemented the firewall, whether the firewall is working as per the intended, and what is the outcome of that. So that everything will be captured in your compliance report. So this is kind of adherence to the policies. This is kind of adherence to the standard. The standard says use firewall, and then the compliance will say, okay, you have used the firewall for so and so generations or so and so requirement based on the risk assessment done. So that compliance will give you the clear picture to the management that it has been practiced as intended. So the compliance ensure that an organization adheres to applicable laws, regulations, industry standard, and internal policies. It helps prevent legal penalties, reputational damage, and operational disruption. So there are many. I'll just give an example for firewall because to make us understand, because there are many things which is there to understand. I'm just taking one of the examples so that we'll have an example. So reputational damage. So if you implement firewall and there is no hacking done because of the firewall I have implemented, there is no threat from the hacker. All the packet is getting dropped by the firewall, and only allowed packet has been coming inside the internal infrastructure network. So this will give me assurance. Okay, my system is protected. So if the system is not protected, so what I will be doing, my data will be lost. It will be exposed to the company. So the my company value will be goes down. So there could be a reputational damage, and there could be penalties because a lot of organization, lot of regulations, they require all this control to be implemented. They think that you have to implement firewall. So if you don't implement firewall, there will be a penalty. They will come and they will have a check. They will be asking for the compliance report. They will be asking for the audit report. If you don't provide, and in the audit report, if you say there is no firewall implemented, then there will be a penalty to that organization. So with the help of compliance, what we are understanding, we are adhering to the laws and regulations and the industry standards and the internal policies. So for example, ensuring compliance with the GDPR for data protection, or SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley Act for financial reporting. So if a company is using GDPR, GDPR is a regulation in the EU, European Union, whatever the company in Europe, or which are all the companies which is dealing with the Europe, they should follow this standard. They should follow this framework called GDPR. This is a regulatory body for the implemented by the European Union government. So every company, they have to follow this framework. If you don't follow, there is a huge penalty. There is a 4% penalty, total outcome or total turnover of the organization if you misuse the data of a EU citizen. If you are a US citizen and your name is on the internet, so that person can sue that company. Why my name is there on the internet? He can sue that company that why you have leaked my name or my email address or my phone number to the internet. So he will sue, and he will be getting reimbursed accordingly from that company. So this is the compliance part of an organization where we need to implement accordingly. So the compliance is there is a rule. This is basically life cycle kind of thing. There is a rules where rules will give you the standard, and the standard will have a governance part. Checked everything that you have followed the standard. You have rules implemented, and there is a regulation will says that you have to implement the regulation, and then should be a transparency. Transparency in that there should not be any hidden kind of thing. Like people will start hiding if you don't. Like for an example, there is a requirement for implementing next generation firewall. You have implemented old requirement which is not as per the requirement of our next generation which will block all the malicious traffic and all those things, or monitor or drop packet or IDS and IPS kind of thing. If you don't install that, based on the compliance report, we'll come to know that what kind of technology you have implemented. So that should be a transparency accordingly. And then policies should be implemented and laws needs to be followed. And then there will be a requirement. So this is a loop basically: requirement, then the rules, the standard, then governance, regulations, transparency, and then the policies, and then the law. So this all comes under the compliance area. So it is use responsibility of the compliance. If this compliance goes wrong, then there'll be a problem, because whatever the risk mitigation is happening, or whatever the risk treatment needs to be done, compliance department needs to ensure or needs to have checked, or they are accountable. The compliance team are accountable of all this thing which is there in an organization. If one thing miss, the compliance department will be hold responsible accordingly. So why GRC is important? Because data strategic alignment ensures business objectives are aligned with governance policies and risk tolerance level. So it is very much important, because it will ensure that business objectives are aligned with the governance policies and risk tolerance level. Improved decision making provides a holistic view of risk and compliance requirement for informed decision making. With the help of governance, management, or the stakeholder will be having improved decision making strategy. So they can have improved decision. They can say, okay, this is the area of the weakness. We can invest money into that area to have a strong foothold. So this they can able to understand that strategy. Then it brings operational efficiencies, streamline processes, and reduces redundancy by integrating governance, risk, and compliance effort. So there could be operational efficiencies, like if some process is required, once there's a two department in an organization which doing the same work. So I'll be doing risk assessment, I'll be doing compliance part, I will be doing governance part. Then I will be able to understand, okay, I have seen that same work is done by the two-person. So there is no efficiency. You're wasting your manpower, you're wasting the equipments, you're wasting the time of the employee and the money. So this is time wasted. So based on the GRC, you have identified that we are doing duplication of work. So what we can do, we will reduce that work, and will give the total responsibility to one person or one team in a one department, so that they are responsible of that. And then once that work is done, that their data will be transferred to the another department. So this will help in operation efficiencies and to identify duplication of work. Then regulatory protections, avoid penalties and reputations damage by ensuring compliance with legal standard. So this will help in avoiding the penalties or reputational damage if we implement GRC. Okay, so companies are highly implementing, or they are this is much in requirement of the organization. They should have a governance unit, they should have a risk management unit, they should have a compliance unit to have end-to-end understanding to avoid penalties and reputational damage. And enhance resiliency proactively addresses risk and adapt to changing regulatory landscape. So this will also help in resilience. Resilience in the sense of, like, if you have some system in place and if you see that the system will goes down, so I should implement some kind of backup mechanism or some kind of DR where the system will never go down. If in case goes down also, there should be an high availability, or active or active passive. If active goes down, there should be a backup which takes over within a few seconds with a minimum downtime, with a minimum data loss. So that kind of process is called resiliency. That means immediately it should take over. There should not be any impact by the client that the server goes down. For an example, I'll give an example of WhatsApp. We hardly ever noticed, or we hardly ever been in the news or heard in the news that WhatsApp system went down for 1 second or for 1 minute as well. Though the system will go down, they have a problems backend, but the kind of infrastructure they have made, the kind of resiliency we can call as a resilient, the way they have implemented the controls, the way they have implemented the DR, disaster recovery, there will be no impact to the client. I will not be having impact as a client. I've never faced that WhatsApp was down in near future. Maybe before, could be 5 years or 6 years before, but in recent times we never hardly found any news about the WhatsApp go down, or any high giant systems, social media systems goes down, because system goes down. There is no to opinion that system never goes down. System goes down from the back end, but they have the ability that is called resilience. So that kind of resilience we need to implement. That resilience, when it will come, when you have a strong GRC, when you have a strong governance, when you have a strong risk assessment, when you have a strong compliance, then only you will be able to achieve that resiliency. That resiliency is required in every organization. Okay. So frameworks and standard in GRC. So this is the framework for the governance. Framework is a structure, basically. It's just a step-by-step approach to achieve something. That is called framework. In that framework, you have to work accordingly. Don't go against the framework, or don't cross the framework. That is called a framework. So a framework is designed in a system which is a flow to have a business objective done. So a COSO, it's one of the strong framework which has been used by enterprise risk management from many of the big companies. They use the COSO. That is called Committee of Sponsoring Organization, that focuses on internal controls and enterprise risk management. So it will focus on your internal controls on every aspect, on every all the departments, and it has an enterprise risk management. So the risk management is not for a particular one area or IT risk or any of the risks. There are many risks. There are operational risk. There are finance risk. There are process risk, technology risk. Okay, so there are many risks in an organization. So there is an enterprise risk management that is called ERM that will come under the COSO governance framework. So there is one more framework which is called COBIT. It is Control Objectives for Information and Related Technologies. This is designed for IT governance and the management. This COBIT is by ISACA. So ISACA has developed this COBIT, and this is also a strong governance framework which company has adopted to have their business efficient and achieve business objectives. So what COBIT does? COBITs will differentiate the IT investment, the IT part with the governance. So the IT will be, the requirement will be like for IT requirements will be having for the 2 server. So the governance will involve into that areas, or IT requires by 3 server. So the IT governance will involve into that requirement, and they will ask for the justification. They will ask for the requirement, why you cannot do in the 2 server, why the 3 servers is required. This is I'm given an example to understand. So IT governance will give you areas of efficiencies. They will bring, and they will tell that for this requirement, what you have 3 servers, we can use in the 2 servers also. So this kind of facilities the IT governance will bring in to the management to have control on the IT spending, or as a whole in IT organization. So ISO 31000, it's an ISO standard from ISO, International Standard Organization, which they are making a standard for everyone. Just like for famous standard is quality standard 9001, I think so. So that there's a quality standard. ISO, they make standard for everything, for whatever the process, whatever the organization is you see in the world, you will have a standard. They have a policy standard, They will have a risk management standard. They have a infrastructure standard. They will have a ISMS standard, quality standard. So all standard, industrial standard. They're making standard for all the processes in throughout the world. So one of the major standard, which is one ISO 31000, it's a risk management standard, which will give you the guidelines on how you will manage the risk in an organization. So in this availability, there are many standards are available. One is NIST standard also is there. There is ISO standard is also there. RAM standard is also there. There are many standards. Few are being used. ISO is being used in most of the organization across the globe, and there is a NIST standard of framework for risk management. It's been used in US by the government company. Then there is ISO 27001, which focuses on information security management system only. So this is ISMS, which called information security management. This is a standard also developed by ISO, and it is an end-to-end process of identifying your asset, managing your asset, managing the risk, identifying the risk, and scoping out the areas of vulnerabilities and auditing, compliance. So this will cover everything. So this is the high-level COVID principles, which will have first is meet the need of the stakeholder and cover the enterprise end-to-end. First, they will understand what are the requirement of the stakeholder, what they want, and then they will cover the enterprise from end-to-end, and they apply single integrated framework, and then enable holistic approach, then separate governance from the management. So they will have a governance team in place where it will get separated from the governance, and then they manage accordingly. So career opportunities in GRC, what are the career opportunities we can see here? How we can develop ourselves or how we can upgrade ourselves into GRC. So these are the roles which are available. GRC analyst is there, risk manager is there, compliance officers are there, IT auditor is there, and cybersecurity consultant. So these are the areas where we can put ourselves and then develop our skill set. The GRC analyst, he will review all the policies, he will review all the processes, standards, and to have less risk, to mitigate the risk, and then give the report to the management. So risk management is also a similar kind of role he will be doing. He will be purely managing the risk. Purely he will see the risk, what are the risk factors, and then he will assess the risk. He will see the threat accordingly. Insider threat he will see, external threat he will see, and then accordingly he will map all those insider and external threat to a mitigation process, and then based on that mitigation process he will develop a report, a risk register, and based on the risk register he will provide a control solution to it. He will say he will provide the control, he will provide the solution to that risk, and then IT team will implement that controls to minimize the risk. Compliance officers is also responsible for having all the process, standard, regulatory compliance, whether all the organizations are following that process or not. The compliance officer will ensure total IT infrastructure from end to end, from start to end. He will give you the compliance report to the management. Then comes IT auditor. IT auditor will ensure that whatever the controls has been implemented, which has been recommended by the risk manager, are implemented or not, or the controls what has been implemented is working as per intended. It is strong enough to withhold with all the attacks which is happening. That auditor will be able to see, understand, and report to the management. Cybersecurity consultant will be providing the solutions, will be providing the end-to-end process about cybersecurity. It will come everything. It will come information security as well. It will come under ISMS also. Everything from the start, from the bottom, cybersecurity consultant will be able to process that. Then roles and responsibilities, which we discuss and as a high level. So GRC, what will do, it will monitor compliance with laws and internal policies, create risk report, and support audits. Risk manager assess and mitigate operational, strategic, and financial risk. Develop risk management framework. He will provide a framework in which he will develop a risk management strategy and implement controls accordingly to mitigate those risks. Then compliance officers will ensure regulatory compliance and address violations, and also liaise with regulatory authorities. So the compliance officers will be a single point of contact with all the regulators. Could be it PCI DSS or SBI regulation or HIPAA regulation or SOS SOC regulation. So all these regulatory bodies, the compliance officer will be the contact point of for them to have the compliance reporter done for that organization. So IT auditor will evaluate the effectiveness of IT system and then controls. They will evaluate based on the auditing. They will see the compliance report. They will see the requirement. They will see the standards. They will read the policies, and based on that policies, they will see that what are the things are implemented are as per intended or as per mentioned in the policies. So based on that checklist, they will review the controls effectiveness, and then they update management accordingly for a review and then implement after that. So focus on cybersecurity, data protection, and IT compliance. So they have their focus on these areas. Cybersecurity consultant, what they do, they will identify and remediate security vulnerabilities, implement cybersecurity controls aligned with GRC framework. So they will do this remediation will be done on the basis of vulnerabilities. They will implement controls that will align with the GRC framework. So industries requiring GRC professionals. So these are the major industries where GRC professionals are required, because we need to protect data, we need to protect the money of the company. If you implement regulations, if you implement governance, if you implement policies, if you have risk management, and if you have controls, if you have implement compliance, then only we will be able to protect the stakeholders' interest. So there is a banking and finance, regulatory compliance, anti-money laundering, healthcare, data protection and HIPAA compliance, IT and technology, cyber risk management, government policies implementation, and risk management. So these are the areas where GRC professionals are required. So there are many other companies, organizations where GRC also are required. So key skill set and certification. So we will see what are the skill set is required. So essential skill set is analytical thinking, ability to assess risk, identify gaps, and interpret regulations. We need to have a critical thinking. We should have. It is not like cut to cut process or some workflow is there. We need to work according. No, we should have a critical thinking in place, and we need to identify the gaps. Where are the gaps? Where are the loopholes in the system or in the process or in the policies? We need to identify. Just for giving an example for analytical thinking, just one policy has been created by one of the organization. One couple went to a restaurant of that organization, and they had food. After that food, one of the couple falls sick, and they try to sue that organization, saying that when we have food in your organization and he falls sick, and you have to pay reimbursement for all those things, so they heavily charge onto that organization. So the company says that you cannot sue us. Then they said, why we cannot sue? Because we have the right to sue you, but the organization says that you have taken that subscription, you have used our subscription, and in that subscription there was a policy, there was a terms and conditions which you have accepted, and one of them, the policy says that you cannot sue us when you accept it. For any reason, you cannot sue us when you accept this. So they have accepted that policy that you cannot sue. So this has led them for non-suing to that organization. So this is high kind of analytical thinking they have done by the organization governance, compliance people, and they have implemented that policies. So they have thought on that level, that straight away I will deny that nobody can sue us with any of the thing. So in the subscription, nobody will read that policies, nobody will accept that policy, nobody will read and try to interpret, try to understand. They just, for the subscription's sake, they start accepting all the terms and conditions. So in my opinion, in my view, I request like all people who are listening to this, we need to have policies read by word, alphabet by alphabet, to understand what is mentioned and what I am accepting in the social media platform or anywhere. Though it could be a document, written document, printed out document, I'm accepting, I should read everything. Or on the internet, I'm accepting, I have to read everything and then accept. If my suggestion is, don't accept anything unless and until it is a requirement. It is a major requirement to accept that, but you have to learn, understand, and then accept. So this is how the policies is will be held responsible for all those things. So it is the strongest part of an organization. So the communication skill is also a requirement, like explaining complex regulatory requirement to a non-technical stakeholder. So the communication skill should be also should be strong, because there are a lot of words in the views in the by the regulatory bodies that we will not be able to understand by the non-technical stakeholder. So we need to make them understand them. Even the technical team doesn't understand a lot of things which has been done there in the regulation body. We will not be able to understand. So we need to make sure that we understand all those terminologies, all those logic, and make technical and non-technical stakeholders understand them well, so that we can have their buy-ins, we can have their assurance, and then we can implement accordingly. Then stakeholder management, build trust and foster collaboration. So with the help of stakeholder management, we will have to build a trust with the stakeholder that will be fostering collaboration, so that they can have assurance in our process, our policies, so that they can implement controls, they can invest money on that controls. Then technical expertise, understanding IT systems and cybersecurity controls. We should be technically enough to understand the requirement. This technicality is not like too much technical, like we need to implement firewall, open the port, close the port, and working on that firewall or on the router, making the routing protocols, enabling authentication, all those things. It's not required, but we need to have a high level of the understanding how the system works, how cybersecurity works, of all the controls. We need to have like entire detail understand accordingly. That skill set is required. Then these are the key certifications for GRC role. One is CISA, CRISC, CCEP, ISO 27001, lead auditor or lead implementer. So these are the certifications. Much in demand is CISA, where this has been developed by ISACA, ISACA. So this is an organization in US, Chicago. So they deal with the certification. If you are CISA, then you are assuring an organization that you are certified in information security auditing on the system. So this is focused on IT governance and then audit. Then there is a CRISC, certified in risk and information system control, emphasizes IT risk management. This is kind of risk management. A person who is in risk management area, this is the certification which proves to the organization that this guy or this employee is very well aware of the risk management process. This certifications, why the certification is required? This is just given added advantage. This is not a mandatory. This is not could be a requirement for any of the organization, but there will be some organization where they ask that good to have so and so certifications. Need, they will not say need or required. Some organization will say it is a mandatory or as a requirement by some organization, but most of them, they will only ask for need to have only. If some organization, they says that it is a mandatory and it is required, you attend the interview, you send the resume, you attend the interview. If you have the skill set, you attend the interview and make an agreement, a negotiation saying that if you onboard me, give me the deadline. You can have a deadline to them. You can tell that within the 3 months of joining or within the 6 months of joining, I will be able to clear so and so certification. So this is what you can agree. You can negotiate with the HR, with an organization, so that they can onboard. That also works in this scenario. wherever the mandatory certification is required on the high level kind of organization. So then comes CCEP, Certified Compliance and Ethics Professional, that will covers ethics and compliance program. So this is purely on ethical part, how the company, how the organizations deal with ethically and compliant with all the regulations and policies. Then comes ISO 27001, Lead Auditor and Implementer. This is very you cannot say easy. This is an entry level of certification which can be done by like non-technical people or technical people, or whoever want to have entry into this GRC profile. You can go with this lead auditor 27001 ISO. This will have a standard framework. This is an information security management. So it's manage it's manage IT risk. It manage um, risk assessment. It's manage compliance. Everything it gets managed under this certification. So real world insight will have some real world insight on that, like challenges in the GRC. What are the challenges will GRC person will face or profile? Balancing compliance and business goals. So regulations often limit flexibility. So there could be a challenges for the GRC to comply with the regulatory requirements. So there could be a challenge which we need to translate to the high level management, that we need to have this process in place. So there could be many challenges, like for regulation kind of GDPR. So it's a definitely challenging, because you cannot keep any document of EU citizen. You cannot keep any information which is not secure. Okay, you have some person named John in the in Europe, and you have called him, and you have taken the name and you have mentioned somewhere in the paper. Okay, and you have mentioned, and the paper you're keeping on your desk. So somebody came to your desk and he has taken the paper, and that paper he has taken, and that paper has the information that this person name is John, and he is a resident of European Union, belongs to so and so country. This is his profile. Everything is mentioned on the paper, and that paper is available freely on the physically everywhere. So somebody have taken the photo of that paper and he uploaded on the social media. So that guy will have received that social media video photo of that paper, and he will say, oh, this is my name, this is my address, this is my email address. Then he will say, okay, then he will think, I have given this information to so and so company to process my visa, or to process my something he want to do. So, or some transaction he has done, or some transaction he has done on the system, on the website. So he has taken the information, all those things. So he will sue that company. He will say that why you have used my information on the social media. So this is the challenge of an organization. So changing regulatory landscape, also staying updated with frequent changes is also a demanding. So regulatory requirement keeps on changing. Today could be some other regulations, tomorrow could be the other regulation, because totally depends upon the threat landscape. So the threat landscape changes now and then. Every second the threat landscapes get changed. Threat vectors are getting involved. Threat vectors, they are using sophisticated mechanism to hack the system. They use a lot of things nowadays. So accordingly, the regulation is going to change and updated every now and then. So we need to implement that controls every day. We need to do governance part. We need to implement policies. We need to implement standard, and then we need to analyze the risk, assess the risk, mitigate the risk, and then do the compliance part all again. So it's a cycle. Basically, it's not a one stop that we have done everything, done and dusted. Not kind of this. We have to be regular. It's a cycle kind of thing. We need to do plan, do, check, and act, which is there in ISO 27001. This plan, do, check, and act is a cycle which you are doing plan, we are doing, checking, and then acting accordingly. This is how the process works. Then third-party risk, ensuring compliance across supply chain and the partner. So this is also, there's a challenge there's a third-party risk which we need to ensure compliance accordingly. Third party is also the weakest link, where we don't have a control on over the third party, where if their system is vulnerable, all the system which we are dealing will also get vulnerable. So best practices in this continuous educations, regularly training on industry's regulations and standard. Then technology utilizations, use GRC platform like RSA, Azure, Matrix Systems or SAP GRC for automation. This is the technology. If you use the system of GRC, we'll be able to identify, because manually, if you do manual work is prone to error. So manually, it is very not feasible to achieve this requirement. So we should have an automation kind of thing or an application to manage all those GRC kind of issues. Then proactive risk management, identify and mitigate risk before they escalated. So the best practice is to proactively manage. So you need to foresee the issues. We need to make the scenarios, worst scenarios we need to make, that this could also will happen to the organization. This also could happen to the organization. You think whatever the worst scenarios, you note down all the worst scenarios and then implement mitigation accordingly. So these are the emerging trends: social, environmental, social, and governance. Gaining traction as organization address climate risk and social responsibilities. So we are socially available everywhere. There's a climate change happening everywhere. There is a geological impact, and there is natural calamities impact. So these are all impacts are available, which we need to identify and then work accordingly. Cybersecurity integrations, increased focus on cyber risk in GRC framework. So cybersecurity also need to be integrated in this framework. So step to begin and scale your career in GRC. So starting your career, learn the basic, take courses on governance, risk management, and then compliance. Then pursue for certification, begin with entry-level certification like ISO 27001 Foundation or lead auditor or lead implementer course, so that we'll have a hang of this this requirement. Then gain experience, apply for internship or entry-level roles such as compliance assistant or risk analyst. Scaling your career, networking, join professional communities like ISACA and attend GRC events. So you can join the company like communities like ISACA and or some GRC events, so that you will have information updated on regular basis. Then specialize for focus on areas like IT compliance, financial risk, or cybersecurity. Then mentorship, seek guidance from experienced GRC professional. Stay updated, continuous learning from involving regulations and then industry standard. So conclusion. So GRC is not just about meeting regulatory requirements. It's about building a strong foundation for an organization's growth, which will mitigate risk and will have ethical business conducted. And by integrating GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, organizations can operate more efficiently and remain resilient in a rapidly evolving business environment. So with the help of this, we are assuring an organization that we will be able to understand the risk, we will be able to mitigate that risk, we will do business ethically based on the regulations. So this will give you the assurance to the organization. So in a nutshell, GRC is crucial for organization success. Numerous career opportunities exist with clear path for growth. Skill building and certifications are also essential for standing out in the field in the open competitive market. Then staying proactive, adaptability is also a key success factor in a GRC career. So hope we have a good understanding on GRC aspect. So thank you for joining and have a great day ahead.